According to Forbes, Russia spent more than $80 billion on a special military operation in 2022. With that money, they could have built 1,538 hospitals or 7,670 new schools, or paved every corner of Russia with asphalt roads. Western countries and America gave Ukraine about $150 billion since the start of the military conflict. This money could have provided all of Ukrainians with quality healthcare, improved the living conditions of every citizen, and raised the standard of living several times over. It's a shame that all money from these countries go to killing each other. This is the political will of our presidents, where and how to invest the money. Over time, Russia received a large number of sanctions. A total of 5,581 bans affected the Russian Federation. Major businessmen, politicians, ordinary citizens and global brands. The sanctions also hit raw materials, oil products and the banking sector. Sanctions make life in Russia worse, and this is a fact. But Russia already had a significant number of sanctions before. For example, 2,754 sanctions were imposed on Russia before February 2022, and 2,827 more were added after that. If Russia used to be in the second or third place in terms of the number of sanctions, now it is the absolute leader. But even considering all of this, Russia stays afloat and can function. It has its own internal problems, partly due to sanctions, but Russia has learned to cope with them. In this video, I will tell you about it. You will also learn what is parallel import and how does Russia get all the new modern cars at favorable prices. How do Russian citizens still go to the cinema and watch all the war premieres like Barbie, Fast and Furious, Transformers with Russian dubbing? What food products which are forbidden to import in Russia are found on the shelves of Russia stores? And also, where does Russia get most of its money? You will be shocked. Hello comrade, I'm your Russian friend Nick and I've been working on this video for a long time. I hope you appreciate it by liking and commenting. Please also watch the video to the end without skipping. It will help me a lot. And of course, I will be happy for any financial support. You can go to my page on a service where I publish exclusive content like Patreon. This name is Boosty. Or you can use my cryptocurrency wallet. All the links are in the description. Thank you. At the beginning of the military conflict, many predicted a quick victory for Russia. However, as time goes by, we realize that there will be no quick victory here. Different countries are now taking sides. Those who support Russia and those who support Ukraine. Obviously, there are fewer supporters on Russia's side, and Ukraine receives a lot of humanitarian, financial and military assistance. But things are not as straightforward as you might think at first glance. Let's first figure out who has officially declared support for Russia in this conflict. According to Wikipedia, Venezuela, Myanmar, Nicaragua, Syria and North Korea. They have officially supported Russia and blamed NATO for provoking the invasion. China, India, South Africa and some former Soviet states have taken a neutral position. Some countries don't want to speak negatively about Russia, caring primarily about their country, imports and trade relations with Russia. Some are indeed confident in Russia's actions, but some who support Ukraine also maintain contacts with Russia and try to cooperate with both sides. But we'll get back to this later. Unlike Ukraine, no one is providing military aid to Russia, as the country is wealthy and very large compared to its opponent. But this doesn't mean that there is no help at all. In late August 2022, Western intelligence reported that Russia received hundreds of drones from Iran, which were used in the military conflict. This caused confusion among Western countries, as they could not understand why Iran was sponsoring Russia in this conflict. However, it's clear that Iran has always been against the USA and Western countries, and since Russia might even be paying, Iran has no other choice but to sell the drones. In 2022, Russia and Iran invest over $20 billion in infrastructures to expand the transport corridor and trade routes. The countries are exchanging energy carriers, food and weapons, bypassing Western sanctions, as Iran has long been under sanctions and is the top 2 country with the most sanctions after Russia. So what were Russia's trade and economic relations with other countries before the military conflict? Russia traded with the whole world on par with USA. Russian gas passed through the Nord Stream to numerous European countries, arriving in Germany and then going to Belgium, Denmark, France and Netherlands, and United Kingdom, and other countries. The growing dynamics of export and import in Russia from 2004 to 2012 look like this. In turn, the same chart for the USA from 1994 to 2019. In 2021, Russia exports amounted to $500 billion, increasing by 45% compared to 2020. With CIS countries, it was 30%, with far abroad countries 86%. Since the beginning of the military conflict in the first 8 months, export from the country increased by 7%, and by 2023 it returned to the level that was in 2021. Despite sanctions and pressure from other countries, Russia was able to withstand and multiply capital, thanks to the very Western countries that imposed these numerous sanctions. However, not everything is so rosy for Russia. The dollar's exchange rate is currently 95 rubles, a figure only seen at the beginning of the military conflict between Russia and Ukraine. There's even a saying among Russian citizens: the currency reacts first. It means that as soon as the dollar to ruble exchange rate increases, something not very good begins in Russia. Last time it was a military conflict, then a riot from Yevgeny Prigozhin, and now something's unclear. Despite the depreciation of the Russian ruble, Russian citizens are still living relatively well, if it can be called that. Of course, people don't have the dream about water supply, gas and all amenities in a very corner of Russia. But if we consider the average standard of living, it doesn't change much. Sometimes there is a lack of basic needs, sometimes a lack of medicine, but people have been living in survival mode for a long time, and it's hard to break them down. Parallel import. With the imposition of sanctions, many brands have left Russia, affecting all aspects of life: real estate, cars, food, medicine, entertainment. Russia doesn't show Hollywood films. We don't eat fast food like McDonald's, don't drink Coca-Cola, don't fly on modern airplanes, and can enjoy cool Korean cars. Wait, are you sure about that? The fact is that Russia began to circumvent sanctions almost immediately. Schemes were developed through which Russia received all the benefits of civilization while bypassing sanctions, and now I'll tell you how this is happening. Let's take the example of the Barbie movie. Now the Barbie movie is not shown in Russia's cinemas because it's simply not there, but it is in Armenia, Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan, and nothing stops Russian voice actors from dubbing these films and Russian distributors from bringing these films into Russia. Only they do it very cleverly. Look, here's a poster for the Transformers movie. Here we can see the purchase of tickets, the running time, year and description. And in the description it's written: important, first showing free pre-show service Transformers Rise of the Beast, duration 2 hours 7 minutes, followed by the screening of the short film about Mom, duration 7 minutes. You understand that? Yeah. It seems that the text is alluding to the way Russian distributors are creatively managing to circumvent international sanctions to continue offering Western films to Russian audience. The example provides illustrations and nuanced approach to doing business under complex economic conditions. In other words, the 2-hour Transformers movie is essentially a free film, but in reality we are going to watch a 7-minute film about Mom. Funny, this is how Russia circumvents sanctions on the film industry. The same thing is happening in other spheres. Coca-Cola is supplied to us from Poland, Kazakhstan, Armenia, Azerbaijan and Turkey. For Russian, Polish cola is the tastiest, because it tastes most similar to Russian cola. Nestle and many other companies also come to us from neighborhood countries, either completely legally or bypassing border services. With the onset of sanctions, a new line of work has opened up for Russians and foreign citizens. This is a parallel import of cars and clothing. How does it work? An order is placed for the purchase of a new Mercedes. It's not available in Russia. So what to do? Special people buy this car in another country, transport it to Russia, paying a custom duty at the border, and resell it 20–40% more expensive. This business has become very profitable, and many Russians have taken it up, although it's predicted to close soon. But with things it's not so straightforward. Unclassified at boards like Avito advertisement have appeared from people in other countries saying that they can buy any item, be it clothing, a new iPhone or a Gucci bag, that's not available in Russia, and sell it to you by mail. Of course, with a certain commission. This is also a very profitable business, but competition is very high. Yet, this does not prevent people from earning money on it, and Russians from enjoying all the luxuries of other countries. But that's not all. McDonald's, Starbucks, KFC are companies that have partly or fully left Russia. However, they have been replaced by Вкусная точка, Rosix and Stars Coffee. The owner of Вкусная точка, also known as McDonald's, is Alexander Govor, a Russian businessman and oil tycoon. He used to own more than 25 McDonald's restaurants in Siberia, but since 2022 he had owned the Вкусная точка restaurant chain. Rostix, also known as KFC, is now owned by Konstantin Kotov. KFC sold him their business in Russia, but for some reason many KFC restaurants still operate under the old brand. Star Coffee, previously known as Starbucks. It's now owned by the famous musician Timothy. He keeps the old conception but changed the branding of his restaurant. Business leaving Russia are going into the hands of Russian oligarchs, and I suspect this is not accidental. However, they continue to operate in one way or another. Of course, some work worse, some have changed recipes, price, but the essence remains the same. Of course, McDonald's can never be compared to Вкусная точка, but Russia, and I included, have what we have. Gas flow and oil products. Everyone knows the situation with the gas flow that no longer works. Gas flow 1 was suspended, and the work of gas flow 2 was forcibly stopped by unknown people. However, during the entire military conflict, the gas flow attracted a large amount of money to Russia. Serbia is sponsoring the Russian army in this conflict, including those countries that buy oil from Russia. Of course, giving up gas and oil is very difficult when trade has been established and has been working for years. But if you are going to impose sanctions, you need to see it through to the end. Otherwise, it turns out the sanctions are imposed by money still flows into Russia. This is strange to me, but I am not a political to delve into that. As a result, the Russian investors in Russia economy were those Western countries that were against the military conflict. Banking sector. I touched on this topic in a previous video, which you can watch above, but it's worth mentioning here as well. Yes, Russia's tough economic situation has trapped people, and sanctions on banks and the Russian economy have left their mark. But we still own many banks that work with Western countries, and the CIS countries that, in turn, cooperate with Russia. China also wanted to replace SWIFT for Russia, but they did not do it because of the threat of sanctions. The main problem for banks in Russia is being cut off from SWIFT. Because of this, we can't use services that are not offered in Russia, or receive money, for example, like I do from YouTube, Patreon or PayPal. But in Russia, the banking sector does not suffer, except for inflation and the rise in the dollar rate. Since the average salaries in Russia are around $300, but in rubles this makes the situation worse. Parallel import exists, but they drive up the price of goods, making them harder to buy every day. Sanctions for Russians or politicians. Let's summarize how sanctions ultimately affected Russia. Sanctions touch all spheres of people's lives: politicians and ordinary citizens, businessmen and regular workers. Some people are prohibited from using their villa in Spain, while others find it harder to buy food in their own country. We could argue about this forever, but let's look at the data. Here's a chart of the average Russian salary from 1999 to 2070. The highest point is 37,000 rubles, which is not bad for Russian. But look at the chart from 1999 to 2022. The dollar was at 26 rubles, and in 2022 it is 72 rubles. In 2017 the dollar rate was 65 rubles, so 35,000 rubles in 2070 were $530. In 2010 the dollar rate was 40 rubles, and the salary in the same year was 25,000 rubles, so the Russian salary was $625. According to the chart, the Russian salary is going down, not up, and these numbers are not ideal. Actual salaries in the regions are even worse, around $300. On paper the numbers always look better than in real life. We can keep being happy about the arrest of another businessman yacht, but for them it's not a big loss. When you have a lot of money you often stop counting it, but when you have a little, you have trouble counting it. Unfortunately, sanctions also affect ordinary citizens, who might not even support the government, but suffer from the consequences. Constant support of Russia. Belarus. Belarus plays an important role in Russia's life. You may wonder how such a small country can influence such Russia. The president of Belarus, Lukashenko, has a close connection with the Russian president Vladimir Putin. They influence each other daily. Remember the protests in Belarus during the presidential elections. Lukashenko was seen in a helicopter with a gun, while citizens protested in the streets of Minsk. It seemed like Lukashenko had no chance to keep his power, but Russian peacekeepers were sent to Belarus. That helped Lukashenko stay in power, thanks to Putin. A similar situation happened recently. With Lukashenko's help in the rebellion, it also helped Putin in some way. The two presidents help each other, not only with soldiers, but also with goods, technology and other benefits. Russia even gave Belarus nuclear weapon as a sign of friendship and for protection. What do you think? Does Belarus really have nuclear weapons or it's fake? Leave your comments below. Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan played an important role in Russian life before a military conflict. Russian peacekeepers helped the president of Kazakhstan suppress civil protests, but he refused to help Russia during a rebellion. The president of Kazakhstan does not support the military conflict and wants it to end quickly. However, this does not stop Russia and Kazakhstan from being big trade partners. Similar situation happens with other countries of the former Soviet Union. Some support Russia, some don't, some even hate Russia, but there's no complete embargo on Russia. What awaits Russian economy in 2024. Based on the fact that the gas flow has stopped and the dollar's value is rising, Russia may slowly fall into the economic trap that will take years to escape. However, considering that Russia has managed or witnessed problems in difficult times, it may avoid the economic trap. Unfortunately, this will affect ordinary citizens rather than oligarchs. In conclusion, I want to remind you that I have a paid subscription service where I post exclusive content for subscribers. You can also donate to help me financially and buy new equipment. I'll be happy for your subscriptions, likes and comments. I hope you liked this video and found it useful. See you next time. This has been Nick, good luck to you.